They didn't just doubt you. They didn't just question you, they erased you. Erased your name from their mouths like you were some shameful secret. Erased your worth with whispers behind closed doors. Erased your soul with that smirk. That smug little grin that said you were never going to make it. They called it kindness, what they did to you, but it was a funeral in slow motion, and you were awake for every second of it. You remember it, don't you? The moment they turned their backs, the cold air when the room emptied, the silence that crept in like a thief, stealing every ounce of your worth. They didn't stab you. So they smiled while they buried you, shovel after shovel of their doubt, their judgment, their pity, burying you under the weight of everything they decided you could never be. They said you were done, over, finished, forgotten. They said you were done. They said you were done, they said you were done. But here's the part they never saw coming. You were still breathing. Beneath all that dirt. Beneath the ash, the broken glass, the shattered pride. Your heart kept beating. You screamed, but no one heard. You begged, but no one cared. You reached for hands that never reached back, and that's when it happened. That's when the silence turned into something else, something louder than their laughter, something sharper than their words. Resolve. You stopped asking for a lifeline. You stopped pleading for light. And instead, you became the darkness, buried alive, yes, but alive all the same. They thought they'd written your final chapter, closed your book, tossed it on the pile with the rest of the forgotten. But you were still writing, still breathing, still bleeding. And oh, how dangerous it is when the buried learn to breathe underground. Do you know what it feels like? To choke on the dust of your own reputation? To lie in a coffin of their expectations while your soul pounds against the walls, screaming, I am not done. They buried you beneath their limits, their insecurities, their projections. But that coffin, that grave, was never going to hold you because they forgot the most important part of any burial. They forgot to break you first, and now you're not just alive, you're becoming. You are the nightmare that rose from the grave, the breath they swore would never return, the pulse they tried to silence. They said you were done, they said you were done, they said you were done. Let them say it again. Let them whisper it like a curse, because every time they said it, you grew colder, harder, stronger. You learned to blink through the dirt. You learned to scream without a sound. You learned that silence is just a battlefield waiting for your voice. And now they're going to hear you, loud, unforgiving, unstoppable. They'll say you changed, good you did. They'll say you're not who you used to be, perfect. That version of you died, and they were the ones who killed it. Now all that's left is what survived, what crawled through hell with broken fingers and bloodied teeth, what refused to die just because they were done believing, what stood tall even while the soil still clung to your skin. You are not what they buried. You are what crawled out, and the next time they try to put you in the ground, they better bring fire, because dirt doesn't scare you anymore. They laughed, not just once, not just a passing chuckle. No. It was loud, sharp, cruel, a kind of laughter that echoes, sticks to the inside of your skull like poison you can't swallow or spit out. They laughed when you tried. They laughed when you spoke. They laughed when you stood up, shaking with nothing but scraps of your own dignity in your hands, and every time you fell, they laughed louder. You remember that sound. Don't lie to yourself. You hear it even now. Don't you, that high-pitched ridicule, that smug exhale of superiority, the kind of sound that says you'll never be one of us. They laughed to remind you where you stood, beneath them, beneath their pity, beneath their expectations. And the world joined in. They always do. The crowd doesn't need a reason. It just needs a signal. So one voice became 100, 100 became 1,000, and soon the noise wasn't outside you anymore. It was inside. Their laughter became your mirror. Every time you looked at yourself, you saw the punchline. Every time you tried to rise, their laughter pulled you back down like chains. Mockery became your lullaby. Sleep to the sound of shame. Wake up to the chorus of, you'll never be enough. But here's the twist they didn't see coming. You stopped fearing the laughter. You started feeding on it. Because that sound, that ugly, stinging, hollow sound, it taught you something no mentor, no friend, no teacher ever could. It taught you rage. It taught you silence. It taught you focus. Every ha carved a scar, and every scar became armor. You didn't just survive the laughter. You studied it. You let it echo until you memorized every beat, until you could mimic it back with venom of your own. You stopped flinching. You started smiling, because when they laugh at you long enough, you either die inside tear or something wakes up, something cold, something patient, something sharp enough to cut through every sneer and every smirk. They thought their laughter made them powerful, but it just made you dangerous because now you carry it with you. It's in your walk. It's in your stare. It's in the calm way you say, keep laughing. They don't get it. Not yet, but soon they will. Soon they'll hear your name and that same laughter will freeze in their throats. The joke they told will choke them. The punchline will hit back. Let them laugh. Let them howl like hyenas in heat. Let them cling to their echo chamber of comfort. Because while they were laughing, you were building teeth, building strength, building a version of yourself that doesn't need approval, applause, or permission. They thought you were the clown. But you were the act they couldn't understand, the madness they couldn't measure, and now you laugh too. But not like they did. Your laugh is heavier, slower, hungrier, because you know something they don't. You know that laughter fades, echoes die, and when the noise is gone, only the strong remain. So laugh. Please, laugh while you still can, because you won't be laughing when you see what I've become. You won't be laughing when you realize what you've awakened. I did die. Not physically, not with blood or breath. But something inside me, something innocent, was executed in full view, and they clapped for it. They wanted that death. They needed it. Because my existence made them uncomfortable. Because I didn't kneel the way they wanted. Because I refused to fit the mold they stuffed everyone else into. So they broke me, slowly, systematically, like cowards do. They didn't stab me. They starved me. Starved me of love, of loyalty, of any sense that I was worth saving. They didn't shoot me. They smiled at me while walking away, while watching me burn from a distance. That's the kind of death I died. Not with screams, but with silence. Not with a bang, but a slow, soul-crushing decay. And you know the worst part? I let it happen. I let it. I gave them every chance to prove me wrong. I stood in front of them, open, bare, bleeding, and they walked right through me. You think I didn't feel it? You think I didn't scream in the dark with no voice left? I felt everything, every ghosted touch, every slammed door. Every moment they looked at me like I was nothing more than a mistake that refused to disappear. They wanted that death. The death of my fire, the death of my dreams, the death of my belief in anything pure. And you know what? They got it. I did die. That version of me, the soft one, the one who waited for validation, the one who begged for a seat at their crumbling little table, he's gone. Dead and buried. No funeral, no flowers, just ashes where innocence used to be. But here's what they never expected. That death, it wasn't the end. It was the ignition. I didn't vanish. I transformed, like bones breaking to grow stronger, like skin peeling to reveal armor underneath. They thought I'd stay dead, that I'd rot quietly in the corner, forgotten, pathetic. But death changed me. You know what they never teach you? That the moment something inside you dies, really dies, it makes space. Space for something hungrier, meaner, unapologetic. The soul they crushed was just the shell. The real me was waiting underneath, waiting for the silence, waiting for the cold, waiting for that final betrayal to snap the last chain. And now I am death. I am the version they feared I'd become, the version without doubts, without fear. Without the naive hope that people will ever play fair. You see, they thought they were killing the threat, but all they did was strip away the weakness. I died, yes, but not how they hoped. They hoped I'd vanish, fade away, break so badly I'd never stand again. Instead, I evolved. I became a creature of pressure, of fire, of truth. I looked into the abyss and didn't blink. I stared into the grave they dug for me, and I built a throne from its dirt. Now I walk with the silence of someone who's already been to hell, and refused to stay. They should have finished the job. They should have made sure I was too broken to rise, because now I don't care about their rules. Now I don't care about playing nice. Now I don't care about who's watching. I've already died once. There's nothing left to lose, and that makes me unstoppable. No fear, no leash, no mask. Just the raw, unfiltered version of me they never wanted to meet. So let them whisper. Let them act surprised. Let them clutch their pearls and pretend they don't know what they created. Because they made this. Every betrayal, a brick. Every lie, a nail. Every laugh, another turn of the blade. They didn't just kill me, they built me, and now they'll face what rose from the ruin. They'll face the version that doesn't flinch. That doesn't wait for permission. That doesn't need anyone's blessing to burn the world down. I died, but not how they hoped. I died with my eyes open, and I came back with fire in my blood. They always ask the same question. What happened to you? As if they don't know. As if their hands aren't soaked in the blood of who I used to be. As if they weren't the ones who lit the match and walked away laughing while I burned. What happened to me? You did. You did, and every lie you told. Every smile that hid a knife. Every cheer that turned to silence the second I stumbled. I wasn't born a villain. I was made into one. Built. Brick by brutal brick. Crafted in the shadows you threw me into. Forged in the fire of your jealousy. Tempered by the cold of your absence. I was your project, wasn't I? Your secret experiment. How far can we push him before he snaps? How much can we take before he breaks? You took everything. And I snapped. But not the way you expected. You thought you were building a failure. You didn't realize you were constructing a weapon. Because here's what you never understood. Pain is a blueprint, and you were the architect. You laid the foundation with betrayal, poured the walls with mockery, framed the roof with abandonment, then stood back to admire your masterpiece. But the building didn't collapse. It rose. And now, it looks back at you with eyes that no longer beg, no longer plead, no longer need your acceptance. You made me a monster, not because I wanted vengeance, not because I craved destruction, but because you left me no other shape to become. You stripped me of softness, and in its place, you installed steel. You took away love, so I learned to feed on hate. You erased my innocence, so I replaced it with rage. You killed the boy, and in his place, you woke a beast. Now they look at me and whisper, he changed. Damn right I did. I changed because you made survival a crime. You turned every breath I took into rebellion, every step forward into defiance. You wanted me to be quiet, so I screamed. You wanted me to break, so I built. You wanted me dead, so I lived louder, sharper, stronger, and every piece you shattered, I turned it into a weapon. You see these scars? They're not wounds, they're armor. You see this fire? It's not rage, it's memory. And this smile? This twisted, defiant, crooked grin? It's the one you carved on my face when you left me for. Ted, I wear it now as a warning. Do not touch what you don't understand. Do not create what you cannot control. Because monsters, real ones, aren't born in darkness. They are dragged into it, over and over, until their eyes adjust, until the dark becomes home, until silence becomes music, until pain becomes purpose. You didn't create a villain. You created your reckoning. You shaped me with cruelty, so I sharpened myself with intent. You mocked me for dreaming. Now I dream of your downfall, and don't mistake this voice for anger. Tono, this is clarity. I see it now, everything you did. Every jab, every slight, every door slammed in my face. It wasn't random, it was design. It was the script you wrote. But I changed the ending. I took your story and rewrote it in blood and ash. You wanted a casualty. You got a cataclysm, and now you run from what you made. You tremble when I speak. You hide behind apologies, dressed as concern. But it's too late. The creation no longer needs the creator. I don't want your love. I don't need your praise. I don't crave your understanding. I want one thing for you to remember. Remember what you did. Remember how you laughed. Remember how you turned away, because I will never forget. And when they ask me, why do you walk like that? I'll say because I'm walking through a battlefield made of memories. When they ask me, why do you talk like that? I'll say, because my words were silenced for years. Now they come with thunder, and when they ask, "Why are you like this?" I'll smile, look them in the eye, and whisper, "Because they made me this way." They don't hear whispers. They don't care when you beg in quietly. When you kneel, when your voice shakes, they look right through you like you were never there. You speak softly, hoping they'll show mercy. They don't. You ask nicely, hoping they'll treat you like a human. They laugh. You bleed in silence, hoping someone will notice. They look away, and then you scream. Not for help, not for sympathy, but because you've had enough, and suddenly they all turn their heads. They look, they listen, they finally see you, not because they care, but because your pain, finally, became louder than their comfort. They only flinch when the silence shatters. So I stopped speaking softly. I stopped swallowing my rage. I let it rise. I let it burn through my chest like a bomb counting down, and when it exploded, when I roared so loud the sky cracked, they called me a monster, not because I was wrong, but because I stopped letting them ignore me. The world only listens when you scream. You could be right for years, no one will care. You could suffer in silence, no one will move. But raise your voice, burn the peace they built from your silence. Now they call you dangerous. Now they act like you're the problem. Now they scramble to shut you down, not because you lied, but because you finally told the truth so loud it hurt their ears. Let them choke on it. Let them feel the fury they buried. Let them taste the voice they tried to erase. I was polite. I was patient. I was quiet long enough for them to mistake me for weak, but silence is not peace, and screaming is not madness. It's survival. It's evolution. It's what happens when a soul is cornered, caged, and crushed, and still refuses to die. You want to know why I scream now? Because I learned something they never wanted me to learn. That power doesn't come from being accepted. It comes from being undeniable. Let them hate, let them fear, let them fall, because I won't whisper anymore. Won't wait my turn. I won't make myself smaller just to fit into their quiet little world. I'll roar until they remember my name. I'll break their illusions with every breath, and if they call that madness, then madness is what made me free. So scream. Scream so loud the ones who betrayed you feel it in their bones. Scream so loud the ones who left you regret ever turning away. Because the world never gave you a voice. You carved it out of fire and fury. You built it from every moment they told you to shut up, sit down, be grateful. Now they'll hear you. Now they'll remember. Because now you're done whispering. And the world? The world only listens when you scream. They point at the scars like they mean something, like they're proof that I lost, but every mark on this body, every fracture in my mind, every crack in this soul, is a chapter they never bothered to read. You think this is damage? No. This is design. Each scar was carved by a lie I believed. Each wound was the price of trust I gave. Each bruise was a lesson wrapped in blood and silence. They told me I was too much. So I made myself small. They told me to wait, so I stood still. They told me to heal quietly, so I buried the screams beneath my skin. But silence doesn't fix broken bones, and time doesn't erase betrayal. So I bled. And I learned. I learned that love isn't always loyal. That family can be the first to draw blood. That smiles lie. And sometimes kindness is just a leash. I learned that pain has a voice, and it whispers the truth in the dark when everyone else is gone. When your name is dust in their mouth, when your back still stings from the knife, but no one asks where the blood came from. That's when you learn. That's when the soft parts turn sharp, when the tears dry into armor, when hope becomes strategy. These aren't signs of weakness, these are survival codes. Every scar, it's a map, a record of places I'll never go again, people I'll never kneel for again, mistakes I'll never make twice. This one, that's from trusting someone who said I'd never hurt you. They did. And now their voice can't reach me. This one, that's from silence, from all the times I bit my tongue until it bled. Because I thought being quiet made me strong. Not anymore, and this one right here, this one's from me because I let them, because I kept hoping they'd change, because I didn't walk away when the door was still open, But the lesson was always louder than the pain. They said scars were ugly. They said I should hide them, cover them, erase them. But I wear mine like medals now, proof that I went to war. And I made it out. Look at me. Look closely. Do you see someone broken? No. You see someone rebuilt. Not in their image, but in defiance of it. I made myself out of pain and ash. I stitched myself together with rage and clarity. I burned the old scripts and rewrote my name in fire, and now I walk with the knowledge they tried to bury. Now I move with the truth etched into my bones. Every scar was a teacher, every wound a mentor, and every drop of blood I lost was an oath that I would never let them write my story again. Let them stare, let them whisper. They'll never understand what it cost me to survive. But I do, and I carry that price with pride. Because now I don't bleed anymore. Now I make others remember what they did, and I never forget what I learned. They should have finished me. Back when I was bleeding, back when I still cared, back when I still hoped. But they didn't. They stood over the ashes, smiled, and walked away. Too proud, too blind, too stupid to realize the fire hadn't gone out. It was just starting to breathe. You see, they always think pain is the end. But pain is just the sound of transformation, the sound of becoming. They thought the silence meant surrender. But I wasn't quiet because I gave up. I was quiet because I was building. They thought they buried me, but I was learning to grow in the dark. I planted rage like seeds, watered it with betrayal, fed it every lie they ever told me. And now I stand where they thought I'd crawl. Now I rise where they hoped I'd disappear. Now I speak, and the ground listens. This is the stand they never saw coming, because they forgot something, or maybe they never knew it at all. You don't destroy someone like me by cutting them down. You just make the roots deeper. You just make the shadows louder. You just wake up the storm. They kept pushing, hoping I'd break. But every shove just taught me how to brace. Every slap just taught me how to swing back. They whispered, "Stay down. Know your place. Be grateful we even noticed you." Well, now, notice this. Notice the voice that won't shake anymore. Notice the hands that don't tremble. Notice the eyes that burn. I was never built for your approval. I was built to outlast you, and you know what scares them most? It's not that I survived, it's that I don't need them anymore. Not their acceptance, not their applause, not their damn permission. I don't want a seat at your table. I want to flip the whole thing, so let them hide behind their smiles. Let them pretend they still hold power. Let them keep whispering my name like a warning, because this is the reckoning. This is the answer to every laugh that cut deep, every eye that rolled, every door that slammed shut. This is what happens when you push someone past the edge and they learn how to fly instead of fall. I don't want revenge. No, I want proof. Proof that I was never weak. Proof that I never needed saving. Proof that all I ever needed was time. Time to remember who I was before the world told me to be quiet. Time to rebuild every broken piece into a weapon. Time to become something they can't predict. So here I am, not crawling, not begging, standing, louder than before, stronger than ever, and unapologetically alive. Let them run. Let them deny it. Let them scream. I am not what they buried. I am the storm they couldn't stop. And this is the stand they never saw coming. I watched them fight for thrones built on bones they didn't break. Watched them kneel for crowns that were never theirs, begging, bending, bleeding, just to sit in rooms they were never meant to rule. But me, I walked away. I didn't want their crown. I never did. You see, they thought I was angry because I wasn't chosen, because I didn't get the spotlight, because I wasn't crowned. No, I was angry because they thought I wanted it. I didn't crave their gold-plated approval. I didn't need their hollow applause echoing off palace walls made of mirrors. I didn't want to be accepted by people who only know how to kneel. They built their kingdoms on lies. I built mine on scars. And every time they tried to shut the door on me, I carved a new one. Through steel, through fire, through everything they swore would bury me. I never needed their validation. I never needed to be knighted by cowards. I never needed to wear a crown that came with a leash, Because power doesn't come from the throne. It comes from standing up when the world tells you to stay down. It comes from walking through fire while they hide behind curtains. Let them keep their throne. Let them sit on their mountain of lies. Let them whisper in circles about legacy and tradition. I've seen behind the curtain, and I've seen what real power looks like. It doesn't beg, it doesn't bow, it doesn't wear a crown, it becomes one. They don't get it. They never will, because they still think a title makes a king. They still think a crown makes a god, but I made war with nothing but bare hands and rage. I forged kingdoms from chaos and silence. I ruled storms before they even knew how to light a match. I didn't ask for permission. I took my place. And when I did, the ground shook like it finally remembered my name. Let them wear their crowns. Let them polish their gold and pretend it means something. It means nothing to the one who built empires out of ash. I don't need their seat. I don't want their praise. I don't care for their rules. Because I'm not here to inherit. I'm here to invade. So tell them. Tell them I'm not angry anymore. Tell them I'm not coming for their throne. Tell them I built my own out of every broken promise. Out of every slammed door. Out of every time they said I wasn't enough. I made something real. Something they can't take. Something they can't fake. Let them sit. Let them rot. Let them pretend they're safe in their castles made of paper. Because I don't need their crown. I am the storm that makes kings kneel, and I'm done waiting outside, so how the hell am I still standing? Because I wasn't built to fall quietly. Because when they buried me, they forgot I was a seed. They thought the silence meant surrender. They thought the stillness meant I was gone. But silence was just the sound of me sharpening my edges. Stillness was the breath before the war. You want to know why I'm still standing? Because I stopped waiting for mercy. Because I stopped begging for grace. Because I stopped asking for a place at their rotten table. I built my own out of broken promises. Out of betrayals, out of every scar they left on me. Each time they laughed, I grew colder. Each time they turned their backs, I grew sharper. And when they finally looked again, I wasn't the same thing they buried. I was fire, I was vengeance. I was everything they tried to kill, wrapped in steel. So how am I still standing? Because I died. And I chose what rose. From the ashes, because I was done apologizing, done shrinking, done letting them write the ending for me. They said I was done. Then let them watch me now. Watch me breathe in a world that tried to suffocate me. Watch me rise from a grave they dug too early. Watch me become the storm they thought they could outrun. Let them choke on their doubt. Let them drown in the silence. I once bled in. Let them see this was never a comeback. This was never a miracle. This was inevitable. I am still standing because I refused to kneel. Because every blow they landed made my bones remember war. Because every name they called me became a title I wear like armor. Because every door they slammed shut taught me how to build walls they couldn't climb. I stand, not because I'm lucky, not because I'm loved, not because I'm chosen. I stand because I chose to, and that's something they will never understand. They needed crowds, they needed applause, they needed validation. But me, I only needed the fire inside me to stay lit. So here I am, uninvited, unforgiven, unafraid, and now they don't get to ask questions. They don't get to write my story. They don't get to look surprised because I warned them. I told them, showed them. So how the hell am I still standing? Because I was never standing on their approval. I was rooted in rage, in loss, in war. And now I rise.